Okay. So again, thank you so much for inviting me. Today's mini talk will be about our data centers or Centro's GIS capability. So you'll see some of the work that we've done during post-Hurricane Maria, to the earthquakes, to the COVID-19 pandemic. I swear, I feel like Puerto Rico doesn't.
I'm online right now on Schwab.
Sorry. Is that me or no?
For all of them, all of them.
No, I'm going to like try to mute.
Okay. So like I said, Puerto Rico cannot catch a break. And so, yeah, so we'll start. Let's see here. So just a little brief background about Center for Puerto Rican Studies. We are a research institute that we're dedicated to the study interpretation of the Puerto Rican experience in the US, and we produce and disseminate relevant interdisciplinary research. And as you can see in the figure on the right, we have our Central Voices, our Rebuild Puerto Rico, our journal, our Central Press. So I do invite you to please visit our website. We have plenty of resources. We have our library and archives, our collections. So I highly recommend to pay us a visit. On our website. We also collect, preserve, and provide access to library resources documenting Puerto Rican history and culture, but mainly we seek to link scholarship to social action and policy debates to contribute to the betterment of community enrichment of Puerto Rican studies. So I'm just gonna dive into the data center. This is what my team and I have been working on. So when Hurricane Maria hit the island, we found ourselves scattered in terms of trying to find data. People have been requesting data from us related to perhaps like school-age children, and they want it in tables or in maps. So what we figured out is how can we centralize all the data related to housing, to economic, demographic, infrastructure, all in one repository. So what we did was we collected all U.S. Census Bureau data, past and present, at all levels of geography. We've been very fortunate enough to have FEMA share their data with us, especially with damages, TSA, relocation. And I also have to thank David Carrasquillo, who's been very, he's been integral in terms of helping us obtain data as well. We've reached out to other state agencies here in the stateside from the Department of Education. So as you can see in this map right here, this is was one of our first maps that we've created to see where did students from Puerto Rico relocate to in Florida. So these are displaced students from Puerto Rico to Florida. And as we can see here, most of them relocated in Central Florida region. So these are the different types of maps that we've created. We've created one for Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York. So they were very helpful, these state agencies, to share their data with us. We've also looked into some of Puerto Rico's websites, gis.pr.gov, and they've had plenty of shapefiles. I highly recommend to visit their website. So yeah, so we've been going through many different agencies like NOAA, USGS, in order to map and document all data related to Puerto Rico post-Hurricane Maria. And here's just a screenshot of our digital platform. This we call the Rebuild Puerto Rico digital platform. And my team and I, we predominantly, mainly we worked here in our data hub, but we're in the process of revamping this. So we had like a section for news, for updated news, where to donate, volunteering. We had policy briefs, so a directory of all organizations within Puerto Rico and stateside US. Organizations related to Puerto Rican communities. And so we're in the process of revamping all this, but what I'm going to mainly discuss is this section right here, the data hub. So within the data hub, we have two different interactive maps. We have one for the US and one for Puerto Rico. And for the US, I'll just briefly review this. What we did was we mapped all Puerto Rican organizations within the US, and then we've also mapped Puerto Rican elected officials, Puerto Rican parades and festivals, and Hispanic organizations within predominantly Puerto Rican communities. So this was a way to facilitate within the diaspora some information, or for nonprofits to sort of work together, or if they wanted to know, if they wanted to do like a fundraiser, this was a directory where they were able to sort of get information. So as you can see here, this I thought was very interesting, that the growing Puerto Rican community in the South, we tend to see that happening, as well as the Puerto Rican parades and festival as well. So that we thought that was pretty interesting. And here's a screenshot of the interactive map for Puerto Rico. So here's where we mainly house all of our shapefiles, our data related to Puerto Rico post-Hurricane Maria impact. So here we have a wealth of data from health-related data to flood zones to urban rural land classification at the block group level. So this is where we've documented and housed all of our data, and we're in the process of updating this. So we will review a bit more about this, this web map application. But the main goal of a Rebuild Puerto Rico platform is to provide information to not only to academics, practitioners, and policymakers on the issues related to reconstruction and development efforts in Puerto Rico, but also for folks who are on the ground, these nonprofits, community leaders who don't have access, or perhaps they don't even have ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro, right? But they need the data. So we try to facilitate all of that in a user-friendly, web map application. It's also to foster connection between these sectors in order to provide information-based decision-making, but more importantly, to strengthen and encourage collaboration between Puerto Rican community and other stakeholders during the rebuilding efforts in Puerto Rico post-Maria. So here are the available layers. We thematically sort of organize them. So we have layers related to housing, health, environmental, education, Hurricane Maria, population, economic, infrastructure, emergency response. And here are the links where you could feel free to visit, or if there's any shape files that you may be interested in, let me know so we could share them with you. And I did not publish, we didn't include everything here, but here are some of the layers that we have available. We have currently about 148 layers available at the moment, and there are some layers that we are cleaning up. And as you may know, a lot of we found that some of the layers from Puerto Rico, they're either outdated or perhaps unuseful, and or they're just there was a lot of cleaning up that we had to do. But some of the layers that you see here, we were able to clean up and include in the web map application. And I did not include here, but there are other layers that, for example, there are two major projects that we were hoping to complete this summer, but because of the pandemic, we were delayed. But one of them was locating solar panels in Puerto Rico, both in residential spaces and commercial spaces. And then the other project was to wrap up the Blue Roof tarps data that we've been working on using Google Earth. So those are the two major projects that we were hoping to finish actually this summer, but we were unable to, but hopefully we'll finish during the winter time. So again, these are just screenshots of the some of the projects that we've done in the past. So here we're going to be looking at the mapping of the impact of Hurricane Maria. And most of the data in this section of maps were from FEMA. So thank you very much. And then what we did was we wanted to create a visualization of the damages of Hurricane Maria. So here we have, and everything is, you can replicate this on your own. Here we have Hurricane Maria's path, right? We created buffer zones from the eye of the storm, creating a 5, 10, 15, and 20-mile radius. We included the flood zone of the island. Then in the next slide, we've included homes damaged by flooding. And then in the next slide, we've included roof and foundation damage. And here we have the non-repairable units. So basically, again, I'm not going to go through the analysis of it, but the main point is that we could all, we could visualize this, the impact of Hurricane Maria in the map. And all of this, again, it's available through our web map applications. Here's another project that we've worked on related to school closures and the impact of Hurricane Maria on schools. So as we know, in the 2018-2019 academic year, 265 public schools were closed. So one of the questions that we had in mind is, like, what are the impacts? So, to take on such project, some of the layers that we would need, or anyone would need, is the location of these closed school buildings, perhaps a bit demographic data or economic data. And the question we may ask is, what can we do with these closed schools? Can we recycle them? Are they located in these like flood prone areas? Should we relocate these schools? So these are some of the questions, we have floating around. So here, again, it's a screenshot because I wasn't going to depend on my internet, but we could sort of do a demo of this. But here's just a screenshot of the location of closed schools that's symbolized in the red dots right here. And underneath it, we have the poverty status at the block group level. So here's some of the analysis that, very broad analysis that you can do. So if you click on any of the, say we have here a closed school, and if you click here, you'll have a pop-up box here, and then the information will give you, for example, here we have 50% of the people in this block group live in poverty, and 57% of the families live in poverty in the same block group. Here's another example. So if we were to take out the poverty status data, and we were to include here unemployment, again, still we have the closed schools represented in red. Here we have closed schools and employment status. And as you can see here, we have a closed school in this area. And we see about 45% of the population within this area are unemployed. So again, these are just some of the visualizations that we've provided using SU products that anyone can replicate here. So some of and these are just 3 findings that we found, that 65% of the schools that were closed were located in the rural areas, whereas 35% were closed in the urban areas. So those were one of the major findings that we found. But any of these maps right here, you're able to replicate them. I'm going to jump into mitigation, and here we have, this is a report that we're hoping to release by the end of this month. It was put together by myself and Dr. Rafael Torres, and I'm just going to show you some of the maps that we've put together. So here we have a section of Comerío, and here we have a satellite imagery of the town within Comerío. And here we have the flood zone, right? So we see some building structures, perhaps residential, maybe commercial, a few schools perhaps, within these flood zones, within this flood zone. And here, if you look at, this is the information that we have, for example, blue roof tarp, and this is the data that we are trying to finish right here, the project that we're trying to finish. We located fire station, police station. Perhaps you want to know what hospital is in there, or the schools that were open and closed in your area. Where's the plaza located, major roads. So now let's include the parcel data, and we've also have the building footprint as well, but I don't think we've included in this map right here. So let's swipe out the satellite imagery right here. And now let's include the FEMA damage inspections and our blue roof tarps. So we see here, and you don't have to be a GIS expert here, but we see here that most of the damages happened here within the flood zone and flood zone area. So your next question may be, well, where are the schools located, right, within this area? So if we have a flood zone here we have the buildings that were deemed as damaged. We have the blue roof tarps here. Perhaps you want to see which schools are located within this area. So we have 2 schools, one right here, actually 3 that are open. We have Montessori schools located here as well. So here's just a summary of the area, right? So if you were like a community leader and you wanted to know, okay, how many damaged buildings were within this area, how many schools were damaged, or those that are open or closed, how many hospitals are within my area. So these are just some of the information that we could put out to whoever's requesting. But like I said, we've produced a report related to this, and hopefully it'll come out by the end of the month. And I think I have another example with Dorado, but I'll skip that. If I have enough time, I could do the demo for Dorado. So with the earthquakes, again, we've created a separate web map application related to the earthquake damages and schools that were open and closed. So let me go here. So again, this is another report that we were in the middle of putting it out, but because of the pandemic, we're working on other things. So with this report, FEMA reported, and I believe this is as of March 16th, so we do have to update our data in our report here. So FEMA reported over 33,000 damaged homes across 33 municipalities, specifically within the southwest region of the island, and about 36,500 folks applied for FEMA assistance. Again, I'm sure these numbers are different now. In total, about 87,000 people in Puerto Rico were affected by the earthquakes, and that's about like 3% of the island's population. Demographically, those that were 65 years and older age groups were among the most impacted by the earthquakes. So the most impacted areas, specifically those that were 65 years and older, mostly resided in Ponce, Guanica, Yauco, Guainía, Pinuales, and Utuado. Here's a table that is also within our report, but again, it may have to be updated because I believe this is as of March 16th. But here, and this is all available through FEMA's website, Open FEMA, and gives you the total valid registrants amongst the homeowners, total inspected, total number of FEMA inspected damage. And then we have another table of housing damages amongst the renters. Again, it's available through FEMA's website. And here's just a screenshot of the web map application. And within this web map application, we've included FEMA's preliminary damage assessment between January the 12th to the 15th, FEMA's recovery disaster centers. And we've had to update this because they've been opening up other additional disaster centers between, I think, December through March, I believe. We've also included here the location of schools that were inspected. So those that were open, partially open, and those that were closed. We've also included here CDC Social Vulnerability Index at the census tract and county level data. And other natural hazard layers that we've included here was 100 and 500-year floodplains, earthquake, landslide data, and that blue roof tarps that we've been working on for selected counties. I'll see if I could just quickly go here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, well, I can see the PowerPoints, but now it's like on the not presentation mode.
Can you see the Centro's website?
No, yeah,
No,
you have to close and then, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's this one. So if you go to our website here, I'll go over this again. We have a section where we included all of our web map applications. So here we have our web map application for COVID-19 and Puerto Rico's vulnerable population. Here we have pre and post Hurricane Maria. And then here we have the earthquake. So I'm just gonna briefly go into this one. So as you can see here, the layers that are active right now, we have FEMA's preliminary damage as of January the 15th, and they're categorized as green being minor, yellow as major, red as destroyed. And if you click on any of this, it'll give you the information of that particular area. You could actually change the base map. So say you want satellite imagery, you could do that. And you could say if there's an area like you in mind that specifically that you like to see. Here we have the epicenter of one of the earthquakes, but what I wanted to show you here is the school data. So I'm gonna unactivate the FEMA preliminary damage layer. I'm gonna zoom out. And again, it follows right here. Green signifies that it's open, yellow partially open, red as closed. And if you click on, and so here we have a school that's closed, and it will give you the information of that particular school. And if you click on the more info, it will give you the inspector's notes of why that particular, just give it a few seconds. It might be my internet that's slow. Just give it a few seconds. But yeah, you could click on any of the schools and they'll give you the specific information. And then here we go, I think it's loaded. So it'll give you the certification here, and then it'll give you information related to whether or not the school was open, partially open, or closed. Some of these do include, I believe, pictures of that particular school, and this is all data available through the Department of Education, but the purpose of having this is to sort of integrate the data, integrate all of this into a web map application. We could have the flood zones here as well, right? You could include that, and you could see some of the schools that were partially open or closed were within or actually in distance of the floodplains. And if you want, you could also include here, we have CDC social vulnerability index, right? So if you want to zoom out, you could, play around with the data, and it'll give you here, this is all from the CDC website. We have household composition and disability, minority status and language index, and then you have the overall social vulnerability index right here. And all of this, it's available to you. I'm gonna go back to the presentation. So yeah, all of the layers is available to you. And then with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have not done as much work as we wanted to, because we had to sort of change to other projects. But with this, we've documented COVID-19 data from Departamento de Salud. I've included their link to their website. They did a fantastic dashboard, and they've been updating this on a daily basis, I believe. But what we're doing is just documenting and collecting data from between April to August, right, at the municipal level. We've included other layers, such as the HUD's CARES Act grants at the county level. We've also included the 2018 CDC Social Vulnerability Index and demographic data layer. And here's just a screenshot. So here we have COVID-19 cases as of August the 12th, and we have the location of hospitals. And if you click on any of these hospitals, like in the previous web map application, it gives you the information of that particular hospital. But yeah, all of that is available to you. Some forthcoming products that we are tackling right now is not only looking into resiliency index, such as CDC's social vulnerability index, or we've also replicated FEMA's resiliency index as well. So we're in the process of in the Q&A stage of that. But now we're sort of focusing on like recovery index. How fast or how fast can a county or community bounce back from a storm, a natural disaster? So we are looking into various methods and variables and methodologies. So that's what we're currently working on right now. We're in the process of also working on or wrapping up that project, actually, the Food Insecurity Index, Recovery Index. And we're also in the process of wrapping up several projects related to the COVID-19 pandemic impact on stateside Puerto Rican communities. But overall, what we hope to do is to facilitate an all-in-one area where you could find your layers related to environmental, infrastructure, demographic, or natural hazards, and all in one site, so that we could help or facilitate researchers or planners or academics projects, and even folks who are on the ground, the nonprofits as well. So here's our Centro's data hub. We have all of our products is located here, our data sheets, research briefs, our web map applications, the ones that we've explored previously, right here. And if you visit us, centropr.hunter.cuny.edu, you will find all of our products there. And here's just some of the products that myself, colleagues, and my data center team, we've worked on. We've done a report related to housing and the impact of Hurricane Maria, the guide to federal policy and advocacy in Puerto Rico. This is on the left right here is a report produced by a colleague of ours, Carlos Vargas Ramos, related to Puerto Ricans who relocated to Connecticut. And here we have our 1 year after Maria, and I believe we have a 2 year and then a 3 year. This on the left-hand side is the report related to the population decline and school closure in Puerto Rico. We're planning on updating this report related to the impacts of the earthquakes and perhaps with the COVID-19 impacts on the school-age population and school closures in Puerto Rico as well. And here's just an example on the right-hand side of a data sheet that we call. Basically, it's just socio-demographic data related to Puerto Ricans in Florida, and we even break it down to the county level and zip code level.